Can you tell us a little bit about your guys' thoughts on the necessity or non-necessity of supplements?
Yes, I think that's really a big misconception. I will come right out and acknowledge that there's one nutrient you absolutely need on a plant-based diet to supplement with, and that is vitamin B12. It's produced in the soil or by bacteria. We just don't eat dirty foods anymore. We don't. We're so hyper, sanitized now with our in our food system, which in many ways is good, but it also adds that need in. If you're not going to be, because animals will get that, by them eating food that's not quite so sanitized, and then you'll get it from them. But even people who are omnivores often are deficient in B12, so they should probably be, some of them should be supplementing. So, like, absolutely, there is one that you should be taking, and it's that. And that's not quite true of an omnivorous diet. There's no nutrient that we can point to and say you're going to run into real problems not right away, but within a few years if you don't have this. But by and large, I take way fewer supplements on a plant-based diet than I used to with an omnivorous diet, and I think most people do too. A lot of people who are health conscious eating an omnivorous diet take a multivitamin, and it's to cover your bases because we don't all eat as much vegetables as we should, and so we want to make sure we're getting the vitamin C, the A, E, right? Just all these different things, including minerals. Most vegans, it's like I actually invented a supplement company for this reason. We made a supplement that only has B12 and a couple other things in it because we didn't want to take a multivitamin because we're already getting all that stuff from our food because we eat these rich, variety of fresh whole fruits and vegetables and beans and seeds and nuts and grains. And so we just get this abundance of those things. So I don't want to take a whole bunch of extra things, even if my body supposedly just flushes them out when they're extra, which is true of some vitamins, but not all. I just don't want to take, I don't, our bodies is very delicate, complex system. Like why put 2000% of your vitamin C intake in every day? It's just to me like, what can that disrupt? Even if in theory it's going to be excreted, which certainly most of it will. Why introduce that extra stuff into the system? So to me, plant-based diets are so rich in vitamins that they actually need to supplement with fewer things than an omnivorous diet probably does. Now, certainly there are omnivores who do a really good job planning and making sure they get a lot of vegetables and fruits and things like that, and that's an exception. They don't need a multivitamin. So I'm not trying to say that all omnivorous diets are deficient in vitamins, but I think the way most people eat an American diet, they have a much greater need for supplementation than someone eating a whole food plant-based diet does. So if you want specifics, to me, vitamin B12, D3, and DHA and EPA, which are two fatty acids, omega-3 fatty acids, those are the things that most vegans should probably supplement with. It's just a good practice. But B12 is the one that you absolutely need. And then, there are others you can argue about, and we make a product that has a couple more minerals in there, but they're not universally agreed upon at all that you need those.
And one of the points we make in the book too is that it's not vegans who are funding a multi-billion-dollar supplement industry. It's, people think, oh man, if you're vegan, you gotta have this very carefully planned, super supplemented diet. It's like, no. Like Matt said, you're missing just a few things, if at all, B12 being the main one there. But, it's people loading up on multivitamins and then all these sports things like, glutamine and creatine and branched chain amino acids.
Protein. I didn't even mention protein.
Protein powders.
My mind's at, right? I don't even think about protein, but that's a supplement that comes to mind, obviously. So Robert, you can talk about that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whey and casein protein are the best selling proteins in the world. And it's not even, many times it's not even athletes or even active people who are drinking those, or people sitting on the couch saying, I've been marketed protein. That I need to have it. I need to have this protein drink because I'm sitting here using the remote. Like, this is work, and oftentimes we're marketed like, an energy bar in protein bars clothing, it's protein bar, 12 grams, but it has the exact, we know there's exact amount of calories per gram in protein and carbohydrates, but it's got 12 grams of protein, but like 25 grams of carbohydrate. That is a carbohydrate bar, not a protein bar, my friend. We're also buying a bunch of fat bars. But because fat has way more calorie density than carbohydrates and protein, and so you look at do the math and do the grams there, and you're like, oh yeah, this is not a protein bar; it's a fat bar. And we've been convinced to buy protein water and protein popcorn, and that's actually one of my favorite parts of the book is the history of our obsession with protein. And so, we don't need to go into all of
Going
it
back
here.
to 1930s. Going back to 1930s.
Exactly. People post-war, post-World War, and the rise of television and the rise of fast food restaurants and family diners and people making masculine, this association with masculinity, food at home, oftentimes back then, women making food for their families and masculine men who are coming back from war or whatever, and thinking and believing that meat and milk do a body good. And then TV dinners and microwaves played a role in that. And then Joe Weider and Arnold Schwarzenegger played a role in the supplement industry. And then the muscle magazines, which are only in existence because they're funded by the supplement brands that advertise in there. And then they sponsor the big, huge, famous bodybuilders who represent those brands, then market to young, impressionable people like me who want to start, getting into supplements. Mm-hmm. That's a fun thing to write about because you're like, you walk away with it like, oh man, I've been tricked. I've been tricked into thinking I need all this protein when really the science suggests that I don't. And I can get all the protein that I need from plants. And so that was a fun topic to write about as well. But just as a reminder that it's not vegans buying up all the billions of dollars of supplements. It's those who are not consuming as many vitamins or minerals as they probably should. And those who are loading up on supplements that they really don't need, like all that extra protein.
Yeah, the supplement industry in 2019, again, information from your book, was about $130 billion. And the projection is that by the end of 2025, you're looking at north of $250 billion. And so there's a lot of money that's talking there. And I would also say that it's maybe money that's talking as to why it's so hard for people to just be able to easily access more whole foods. I think, again, Matt, you've talked about like you put your mind to it, you can do it. But if it was just made easier for people, then that would be a lot better. But there's just too much money behind the scenes, I think. A couple hurdles in the way, and there's a lot more interest for like meat to sell and protein to sell. And so you can kind of see the system behind the scenes that's playing out as well.
Sure. There's government subsidies, which we talk about. I think we talked about that in the book. I certainly did on this big 35-page paper that I wrote about the true cost of food, about what makes, animal protein so affordable, 99-cent burgers or, $2 burgers or $1 chicken nuggets. I mean, there's massive government subsidies and all kinds of things involved in that production that keeps costs low and keeps people unhealthy, unfortunately, which then increase medical costs and dealing with the biggest causes of death and disease in our country, heart disease and cancer and diabetes and hypertension and these things that are diet and lifestyle related that can be prevented. And we're filling up hospital beds. We're filling up prescriptions and pills and all of these kinds of things with massive expenses, which makes it really not all that affordable after all. Your $1 chicken nuggets are really, really expensive later down the road. And a plant-based diet is one of the best things you can do for healthcare and prevention. We didn't even talk about that. We don't have time to talk about it today, but that's another benefit of a plant-based diet is not just for athletics and reducing inflammation and improving energy and helping with digestion and helping managing nutrient to calorie ratio and body weight and all those things. It is so good with longevity and preventing and in some cases reversing our common degenerative diseases. So it's just a win-win-win for everybody.